right here is one of our Cogshall trees. Cogshall is a Florida mango. The tree is really nice. It grows very compactly, very pretty growth, and the fruit are fiberless, sweet. It's a popular variety. It's got attractive fruit also. But we have so many wonderful mangoes that I decided to sacrifice one of our Cogshall trees to a topwork project. And basically I am converting this tree to another variety, and it has gone through like the first stage. We cut this back severely. It used to be much bigger than this, both wider and taller. But on some of these new sprouts I've already grafted, and today I wanted to reduce this lateral growth. I don't want to keep having to graft onto all these shoots, or it wouldn't be all the shoots, but if I left this branch long, then I would have to keep grafting on it, and so that it wouldn't sunburn, and also, you know, to take advantage of extra places for fruit to form. But that's not my vision. I want to have the grafted branches being close to the center of the tree. As they grow, they'll spread out, so you know, it will form its own little structure as these branches mature. So today I was looking at this branch behind here, right here, and this one I think is going to be the first one that I want to cut, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is there's a lovely young branch forming here, and that's pretty good, you know, pretty centrally located. That would be a good place to cut on the west side of, away from the trunk. So another reason that this is a good place to cut is that this top of the branch here is really sunburned. I mean, this is like major damage. And, you know, I knew I was going to top work it, so I wasn't that concerned with having this branch, you know, before all these leaves formed, just in direct sunlight. The sunburn happens, and I just cut back to where it's healthy, and that will be a good place. The first cut I'm going to make is on the underside of the branch. And the reason for that is if you just cut from the top, you risk having like a problem happening on the bottom. A lot of times it will strip part of the bark. So the careful way to do it is to make a cut at the bottom of the branch, and definitely far out. You know, you don't want to make your first cut close to where you want the last cut to be. You want to go out, give it you know, take the weight off of the branch basically, and then make your final cut. So right now I'll make that first cut. Let's see if we can. I'm actually going to do more than 3 cuts, I think, on this one, because I want to sort of cut these smaller branches off before taking the bigger branch, because they have to come off anyway in order to you know, make it easy for the city to pick up the trimmings. So these little branches, no problem. Okay. So there's one. Let's see if we can get it out of the way a little bit. And then I'll take the weight off of this with this other branch here. There's nothing that will damage it when it falls, but even so, I'll make a few cuts to take this off. So there's a sort of did a what can happen if you only use one cut? Of course, it doesn't really matter here because all this is coming off, but you see how half of this stripped off down here, right there. So nice clean cut for 3/4 of the way across, but still it doesn't matter because that's not our final cut. I guess I do have to make a little cut here to get that branch to drop. Okay. Let's see. We're getting close to the end, but guess I'll use this ladder for this one. Guess I'll reach a little bit with the ladder. Sounds like we're out of charge. Okay, let's see how strong I am. Get the regular saw. So because this is going to be a lot of work to use this saw, I'm going to try and make this sort of a minimal amount of work as possible. Bingo! Okay. So that was a little more exercise than I thought I was going to get. But there it is. The branch has been cut. It's a pretty smooth cut, not perfect, but it should heal fine, and it's going to be in the shade. Sunburn has mostly been cut off, and so this tree is even further along the path to becoming a new variety on it. So there's a top work project in process. All of this will either need to be trimmed back or thinned out, and then the remaining branches, young shoots and such, grafted, and the same for the other. There's just far too many places to graft right now. I've got a few grafts on here. I'm hoping to do maybe 10 more and then call it quits for the top work project and just let this tree grow. So here we are back at one of my top work projects. This tree is mostly Cogshall still, but I have been adding other varieties to it. Right now we have the towel here still for like a little sun guard for this exposed area of the trunk. These horizontal branches tend to get sunburn, and actually the bark can die and split and everything, and so I'm just using this old towel to keep that nice. We did have a whole bunch of rain, and this towel became extremely soaked, so I did take it off of this area just because I didn't think it would be good to have a soaking wet towel on the branch for days, and so took that off, dried it actually on the ladder back there, and then after it was dry, put it back on. But as I've been grafting, I've got some grafts here and here. I've also been cutting back some of the Cogshall growth. I want to keep the plant active while I'm top working it, just because it reduces the sunburn potential. But I have been also cutting back completely, like eliminating some of the Cogshall branches that are too close to each other. So for instance, we have 3 Cogshall shoots right in a line practically, and when these get to be big branches, that's too much. It just gets too crowded. So I have grafted onto this one, success, yay, but I cut back this one a lot. This one might get eliminated completely. I guess I was sort of torn as far as if this shoot would be too close to this other one. We do have a lot of branches to choose from. You can see right here, this is a bird's nest, a mockingbird's nest. There were 3 eggs in here, and the papa mockingbird was very upset by me coming over here, so I had to avoid this area for a couple weeks. But now that's an empty nest, and so I can sort of get going more on this area of the tree. But I have already put quite a few grafts on it. It's just a matter of trying to get a good number for the tree to support, and not to crowd the branches with their neighbor branches. So that's sort of the report now on this Cogshall tree that's going to get to its next chapter. So in the next few months, I think this project is going to be finished. Of course, will be grafting onto more of the Cogshall shoots, and then also completely eliminating some other Cogshall. And I'm looking forward to having, hopefully, this tree be productive next year, though that is a little bit optimistic. It might be 2 years before we start getting fruit from this tree. We are back at this tree. This tree used to be Cogshall mango, and I decided that we had enough Cogshall in other places in the grove so that I could use this as a top work project. And when I top work things, a lot of times I put a lot of grafts on. I just like the look of the tree when I do that. I choose branches that I think are going to be in a good position, and so almost everything on this tree is now not Cogshall. What I am doing is actually prepping scions from areas that have just too many shoots. This had a whole lot of shoots coming from the same area, so I'm prepping scions, and I will try to hunt down if there's any shoots of Cogshall. I will be using that to graft onto. Look at this. This was it just had a lot of shoots out of the same area. That's not ideal. So what I'm going to do is, after I get scions from these shoots here, I will cut this back probably about this far, and so then we'll get sort of normal branching. So that's sort of what I do with the branching. I try not to have too many branches coming out of the same place. What was happening early on in this series is that this branch here was completely in the sun. You might remember that. That was my cure was a towel hanging over this branch, and so it wouldn't get sunburned. Sunburn, will basically destroy a lot of the outer bark of the branch, and that's not ideal. It doesn't kill the tree or anything like that, but I didn't want that to happen, and I was successful. I don't see any sunburn here. And of course now that I've grafted onto a lot of shoots and they've started to grow all over the place, this has plenty of shade. So there's no need to worry about sunburn here. I've got some scions here too, so I'll use those for grafting back onto the same tree unless I run out of ungrafted shoots. And let's see what else we have. Yeah, just a lot of grafts. And a lot of people will just use 2 or 3 grafts to graft a tree, and that's fine. It works out and it's not as much work. But I enjoy grafting, and I like to just put a lot of branches, or graft onto a lot of small branches on a tree like this. It just is more visually pleasing to me, and also hopefully it will give a lot of fruit in a fairly small space. I'm hoping that this tree will actually fruit in 2026, but I don't know, you know, it's like it depends on weather and all sorts of things. But it's a pretty good bet that we won't get fruit in 2025. This growth has to become a little more mature, and then hopefully we'll just get a lot of fruit from this tree.